5 minute, 5 minute, 5 minute, 5 minute.
5 minute Chit Chatz!
So when it comes to disciplining children, of course, discipline coming out of a loving home and loving parents is so well received by children. I really see it so much as God's way, right? If you offer discipline without love, then it instills fear in a child. But with love surrounding the disciplining of a child, I have yet to see my kids react against me as though I am like hurting them or that it's an evil thing. They respond well when I pray for them after I would give them a spanking or something like that. I have never seen them sort of retaliate and be angry with me. That's understanding authority. That's understanding love and my love for them, that I love you enough, honey, to tell you you can't behave that way, right? So it's that kind of thing that I think discipline is so important, and it's so much a part of loving our kids. I guess that's in our culture today, I don't think that's necessarily seen that way. In God's perfect design, I've seen it in my own kids. To withhold discipline is not loving your kid in a certain way, you know? So my example is I try to train my kids to first time obedience. The reason being is because I want them to know God in that way, right? I want them to read the scripture and honor God the first time they read something. If God says, don't steal, I don't want them to steal 10 times before they get in trouble or before they get in jail. Or I don't want to be the one to train them to say, I'll give you 10 times to disobey before you have to obey. And I don't think God works in that way either. The judgment of God is real. The wage of sin is death. And I don't want my kids to participate in that death at all. So for me, when I say first time obedience, it's I love mom. I understand mom's my authority. And when she says something, I know she means it and I'm going to obey. A lot of times with kids, with talking to adults, like an adult will approach my child and say, hi, my littlest daughter, she's 2. And, we're in the thick of training with her. Hi, Hannah, how are you doing? And a lot of little kids will like to just turn away because their emotions, they feel that like, oh, I'm shy, or, oh, I don't want to talk to this person. And so they turn away. And then a lot of times parents will make an excuse and say, oh, she's just tired. She just woke up from a nap. She's shy. Oh, she's being sassy or whatever. And they say that to me. And in my head, what I'm thinking is, well, actually what that child just said is, Mom, you told me to do something. I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. It's really what it is. That's the truth. The child just says, I don't want to. And then the parent makes excuses for the child. I just don't want my children to be rude to adults. If I tell my child to say good morning to somebody or hello, then I expect, just like if I told them to stop when they're about to cross the street, I would want them to stop first time. Don't question me. Don't disobey. I don't want you running out in the street. When I say stop, I mean it, and I love you. And my words are to protect you and guard you and raise you up into the kind of person that won't run out in the street and get hurt. And so please listen to mom's words first time and obey. So I would just say to Hannah, no, ma'am, nope. You need to look at Mrs. Davies, say hello. And if she doesn't, it's always a hard situation for the person I'm talking to, because they'll be like, oh, no, it's okay. And I'll say, actually, it's not okay. I'm sorry. My daughter needs to listen to my voice, first of all. She doesn't need to be rude to you. She needs to listen to me. And I would take her in the back room. I'd say, Hannah, Mama told you to say hello to Mrs. Davies, and you disobeyed Mom. So in this instance, in every household, it might be a little different. You might give the kid a spanking on the hand or on the bottom, or you might, I wouldn't put them in timeout only because it draws out the situation for your friend who's waiting in the other room to say hello, right? But then I would take my daughter back out, and she might be crying a little or sad that she got a spanking, but I would say, hey, Hanny, listen, you can make a good choice here. You can decide to obey Mom. Say hello to Mrs. Davies. She's a nice lady, and she said hi to you. And I want you to listen to my voice, just obey and say hello. And if she didn't do it, again, she's deciding, and I'm just training in her this understanding Mom's in authority. I mean what I say. I want you to do what I've asked you to do. It's nothing that'll hurt you. And, I want you to do it. So then we would go through that. And obviously, Candace, you would sit there, and you did. This was the situation, right? You would sit there and I would say, Hannah, say hi to Mrs. Davies. And then she would say, hi. And finally, I'd break through that wall, of a child just wanting to disobey. It doesn't feel that great. I don't really want to do it, but I want to honor mom, and I want to do what she says. And so after time after time after time, you do that, and you really do. You establish good authority in the home. It produces a very well-balanced child. Understanding children flourish when there's structure. They flourish when they know what to expect. And so you get really happy kids who are surrounded by love. And when they decide to cross that line into disobeying mom or dad, there's immediate, really, really understood and expected consequences for disobedience. I believe that's what God's given us in his word. And so I guess as the big picture is when my kids grow up, I want them to be able to read the word. I want them to be able to read God's commands and say, I can come to God. I've been trained in my heart to love the authorities that are in my life. I love my mom and dad. They've served me my entire life. I love them. I want to honor them and obey them and respect them in everything. Me as a wife to my husband, I want to honor him because God's called me to it. God's called me to honor him. When it comes to the law of the land, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. I'm going to obey the law. And when it comes to God, I want to read his word and I want to obey it. And so that's a trained heart. That's not something our flesh wants to do. So it starts when your kid is born. It starts in loving them. It starts in displaying the love of God and the person of God, the fatherhood of God to our children. And we're the tutors that do that. So that's kind of an example of that.
Check out previous videos by clicking one of these video boxes. 5-Minute Chit Chats is about real moms sharing tips on life and leadership. New videos every Monday.